If you've been a sports fan in Sacramento for a while, there's a good chance you missed the sports stylings of Mark Kreidler. I'm wondering here, you want to see Mark Kreidler, read Mark Kreidler, what do you have to go to the library and go to the microfiche to dig up his old columns? Is there any other way?
Now?
The microfiche? You don't know what that is?
No. Sorry. That was way before my time.
Yeah.
Never heard of that.
Well, I don't know if there's a better way, but nice enough to join us, my good friend. It was a pleasure to have brunch with he and his lovely wife, Colleen, on Saturday. Used to work here at 1140, as you know. Sacramento media legend, Mark Kreidler, Mr. Baseball. How are you, Mr. Baseball?
I'm fine, Whitey Gleason. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
Microfiche, I actually know what that is. That's sad for both of us, but
yeah,
I actually knew what you were talking about when you said that. So yeah, I've been in the library, and
if people who want to read, I wish Mark Kreidler was still writing sports. I heard a rumor that you actually are, and that people can read what you're writing about sports. Can you confirm this for us?
That's mostly true.
Yeah.
I do write about sports. I write a column called The Dope. It's on Substack, which means you can subscribe to it and have it, sent to you directly. It's such a clean model. If you don't want it, you don't have to. You don't get spammed with it all the time. So
there you go.
People can go to markkreidler.substack.com and they can, check in later this afternoon, and we'll have all the MLB Trade Deadline updates for you.
That's awesome, because that microfiche thing is it's just harder to find than it used to be, right?
It just gets old, doesn't it? Yeah, and you got to go ask the librarian. That's actually a person, Chris, the librarian.
Okay, I've never heard of that one either.
Yeah, I'm just telling you. Yeah.
We know you're busy, and especially trade deadline day. What do you think the Giants should get done, and what do you think the chances are that they'll get it done before the deadline?
Well, I thought that they might be in the market for more position player help, but the truth is, this has been the total pitching trade deadline. I mean, if you look around at the teams that are contending or who think they have a shot, everybody's added pitching. There just isn't a lot of position player talent available right now. So, they also got their hand forced a little, Whitey, because of Yastrzemski going on the IL. So they sort of reached out and grabbed AJ Pollock from the Mariners, and he's a 35-year-old outfielder. You get what you get. So right now they're actually just kind of trying to piece together some things to stay in this. I don't actually see the chances of them making a dramatic move upward by trade, at least, happening, because right now I think they really can't afford with the pitcher injuries they've got. At one point it looked like they had a surplus of pitching, but they just don't right now.
Mm-hmm.
Just in general, I mean, Verlander got moved about 20, 30 minutes ago. Do you expect today to be pretty busy?
Yeah, it's been, and it already has been.
Yeah.
But it's. I do think that there are still a couple of big pitchers to move. The Tigers have two that they haven't moved. They're kind of the last two really bigger names left. I should say there's three guys: Dylan Cease with the White Sox, and then Ed Rodriguez and Michael Lorenzen in Detroit. Those three guys will probably move. But a lot of the big stuff's already happened. When Texas picked up Scherzer a few days ago, and they've added pitching all over the place. The Rangers added, two guys from the Cardinals. They picked up Jordan Montgomery, who's a really good pitcher, lefty. They added Aroldis Chapman a few days prior to that. So the Rangers are they've got a lineup that'll hit all day, and they just, they've just had heavy pitching injuries, so they're trying to stay in it. So a lot of that's already happened, and Whitey knows without doubt. He was all over this a few minutes ago when the Padres acquired the legendary Rich Hill from the Pittsburgh Pirates. So the Padres are another one of those, out here on the West Coast. The Angels have done everything they can in a really short amount of time to try to prove to Shohei Ohtani that they're going to try to be a contending team now and in the future. So they made a bunch of deadline deals. The Padres added, the Dodgers added pitching plus infield help. I'm a little surprised the Giants haven't done more. But again, I think they kind of got handcuffed because they've had a couple of more recent pitcher injuries that really limits their ability to deal. So, there's plenty of West Coast activity. Even the Diamondbacks they're kind of squirrely, but they're actually adding talent. So there are a bunch of teams out here that are gearing up for the stretch run.
Mr. Baseball, the one and only Mark Kreidler with us. Mark, of course, we covered the Padres for years, a Hall of Fame voter. So that's why he calls himself Mr. Baseball, I guess.
Yeah,
But
I've never called myself that. Yeah.
have you noticed, given that you have been covering trade deadlines for many, many years, do you think now that we have more teams in this, in what, 2 or 3 years, if you include the pandemic year, has the fact that we have more teams getting into the postseason now, has it had any impact on the deadline? Are more teams now feeling like, hey, we got a shot at this, so there's maybe less movement, or the prices of certain players are higher than they used to be?
And I think that why it's the like when you go 3 deep in the wild card, you're only knocking out a handful of teams. Like the teams that are dealing players right now: Tigers, White Sox, the Royals, the Cardinals, who've had a really, surprisingly bad season, Nationals, Rockies, and they're all teams that are out of it. But once you name kind of like that handful, there's not a lot of other teams that are really seriously able to say we're not contending. So, when you go 3 deep in the wild card, you really do keep, and I'm sure this was part of MLB's intent, is not just to make the trade deadline interesting, which it has been, but also to just make that last month not such a grind for so many teams. There are going to be plenty of teams in that last month of the season who are playing games that for their fans are gonna matter. Look, the Dodgers are going to win the West. That's just how it is. But the Giants are a wild card team, at least as we sit here this second. But they're in a real cluster of teams. That includes the Diamondbacks, by the way. That all still think, yeah, we can snag that second or third wild card spot. So I do think if that was the plan, it's doing what it's supposed to do.
You mentioned the Padres a little bit ago. You didn't mention the Padres there in the wild card race. I'm just curious, they were big buyers last year at the deadline. What do you expect them, or what kind of moves do you expect them to pursue at this deadline?
Well, they did. I was laughing about Rich Hill, but they really did, Chris, add a left-handed pitcher who can be a rotation guy or sort of a bridge guy if they need him. And they added a first baseman in Ji-Man Choi from the Pirates. So they're clearly trying to tread water. They're such a squirrely team. I really don't know what to expect. They were at home, lost 2 out of 3 to the Pirates, another team so bad that they're trading off pieces, and then turned around and swept the Texas Rangers. So they're just not an easy team to predict. But I think there's just too much position player talent for them to ever bail out. They're close enough to a wild card spot that it makes sense that they would add. And that's what they're doing. It may not be dramatic, but they don't really need dramatic. They just need for their everyday guys to not stink.
Mark, would you be willing to update us on the progress of a guy who's with the Tigers opening day? Your son, Ryan, it's quite a life, baseball player, Major League Baseball player, professional baseball player. I know he's had some issues this year with health. Would you be willing, you got a lot of fans in the area. How's Ryan doing right now? What's going on with Ryan right now?
Well, it's nice of you to ask, first of all, since you already know the answer because we had lunch the other day. But
I forgot. At my age, I don't remember.
I don't even remember what I said that day, so I guess it's all fresh. But he's good. He's been on a rehab assignment in Florida, and he is probably a day or 2 days away from rejoining his AAA team, which for the Tigers is in Toledo. So he'll be a mud hen soon enough. Of course, as I say that, I mean, I'm a dad. I mean, I've covered all the baseball stuff, but I'm also a dad, and it's like still 2.5 hours to the trade deadline. Minor league players get thrown in these deals all the time.
Oh,
so,
boy.
Check with me again after 3:00. But I think chances are really good that he'll spend, the end of this week rejoining his team and being back on the field. And for him, just seeing him healthy and being able to enjoy playing baseball again is a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah. All the best on that front. Yeah, we're approaching the 1-year anniversary of his major league debut. So hopefully he'll be back with the big club before you know it. Mark, thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. Enjoy the deadline, whatever the heck happens, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good. You guys take care.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
Check out the dope Mark Kreidler's sports blog.
Yes, absolutely. Go check that out. He said on Substack, correct?
Mm-hmm.
On his Substack. So Mark Kreidler, Substack. Go ahead and check that out, and you can read, like you said, he'll have in a couple hours a breakdown of today's deadline at 3:00. So
Yeah,
go read that.
I'm with them as far as the Giants go. You never know. I think they're for the most part pretty much done. And I think Giants fans again are kind of feel like that was it.
That was it. Yeah,
Mhm.
not much of anything. AJ Pollock and who's the other guy they brought up?
Mark Mathias.
Mark Mathias.
Who, and nothing against him. I think he's a River Cat now. But yeah,
everything I heard about him yesterday was no one had heard of him. So
he can play a lot of positions.
That's what I heard. Yeah,
easy.
that's it. He's a definition of a utility guy. You can put him literally anywhere in the field, and he should be fine. But yeah, definitely an underwhelming deadline, at least so far. There's still two and a half hours left.
Still some time left. The clock is ticking. Coming up next, our bold